Today in South Africa, many South Africans, just to continue away from the HIV/AIDS discussion, will be what angers many people today in South Africa is their perceived sense of ongoing corruption within government. While they say, well done on HIV/AIDS, and as you say, the UN says South Africa is a good example, there's these questions around corruption. Are you surprised at the anger that many South Africans are feeling today about the fact that 206 million rand was spent on upgrading your homestead in eNCA?
Well, I think that is an allegation, firstly. I think that anger, I am not sure that anger is based on the specific issue, because that one is an allegation. I think there's a report that indicates that's not the case.
But the government report, Mr. President, said that was issued last year, and parts of which were released early this year, was that they confirmed that 206 million was spent on those upgrades.
No, this is part of the problem, not on the upgrades, not on the upgrades. I think there's a very specific figure on the upgrades. I think it's about 50 million or something, or 50 plus or 70, very specific. Not the upgrades, because again it is a question of what upgrades we are talking about. The government came in the program whilst we were building our own and extending our homestead on our own. They came in the middle to deal with what they called security features. Since this was now to be the homestead of the president, they needed specific things. That's what the money was spent on, not upgrading my home, because if we say it was the upgrade of the president's home, it looks like they said, well, he has been staying in a home that is not up to the standard, we are now upgrading it. Not at all. They came with very specific features that they were dealing with, but they also, precisely because there were no security kind of requirements for the government personnel that looks after the president. So they built outside of my homestead what was government property. And this is what they built. And this is not always talked about. Insofar as upgrading our home, we took a decision way before to do so. In fact, we upgraded 2 homesteads. we have 2 homesteads. One was done and completed, and then mine was the second to be. It's a family decision.
And the other one belongs to?
It belongs to our family. Okay. We have an extended family. Now, this is our decision. They only came in when one was finished, when one had been started. In fact, in the report of government, they say the 3 houses that were been a subject of discussion, by the time they came in, one was at a roof level, one was at the window level, one the foundation had been started. There was no government when we did so. So there's no government money that came in. Government came to say, if the president has to stay here, we need specific places to be upgraded from the security point of view. It was not a family decision. It was not the president's decision. It was a government decision as a requirement that they must look after presidents, deputy president, premiers, etc. That's their own kind of decision.
Did you ever question them at any point during that upgrade or what they were actually doing? Because what we've seen, what has been reported about the so-called fire pool that was mentioned, there was a pool which is a fire pool, and other issues like also the spaza shop for Makumalo has been spoken about. Did you ever a moment when you visited there, you spend a lot of time there with the family and ask, what are you actually doing?
You don't, as a president, no president asks that question. When I was, firstly, when I was appointed a deputy president, many things were imposed on me. You don't ask, you don't debate. For an example, I was told, we are no longer going to fly commercially. We are no longer drive more than 10 kilometers or whatever, not 10, 100 kilometers. Once it is beyond that, you need security. You don't debate these things in security. You don't. You are told. I hope we were able to debate, because I would have done away with many that are there. It started, even the country that is talked about, the security in that particular homestead started long time ago, security measures. When I was an MEC, there were security measures. They were at the level of the MEC. When I was a deputy president, they were at the level of the deputy president. once you become the president, they come to that kind of level. You don't debate. I can tell you sitting here, there are things they've done I don't know. In fact, they will tell you I'm not supposed to know. So at what point should you debate? The only thing I debated was when I saw one of my bedrooms with one little window like it was a cell. I said to them, look, I was in prison for 10 years. I can't be in prison for life now in my own. This one I cannot accept. Now, that's the only thing. I was looking at it from a subjective point of view to say, how do I sleep in a bedroom? If I open a window, I can't see the outside because of security. I said, no, I'm just saying, you don't debate, you don't ask. They impose security measures. That's what it is.
Do you understand, though, why South Africans are upset? I mean, you look in social media, people are commenting, columns is ongoing to say, but why did President Zuma, with such poverty in the country, allow so much to happen? Do you understand where they're coming from? I mean,
well, I think it's coming from the point of view that they're not informed, that presidents don't participate in deciding about their security. It is a matter of the security cluster that takes that. Somebody should have explained this from the beginning. Unfortunately, it was not necessarily explained. And that's so people,
communication was a problem.
Not only communication, the manner in which it was raised. You know, it is raised by the media. It's not raised properly. This man is corrupt. He has eaten so much, 250. Now, what should people say who don't know? If there's no explanation, as one would have hoped, the investigation would have taken a short, very crisp time to explain things. But as you know, it is now for a few years. I think at times you feel, for an example, this one, it's a funny thing. One institution investigate government, another one come investigate. It's not very common. It's not very, it tells you, therefore you end up with this thing in the media with no clear explanation, but also investigation continuing one after the other. It's quite strange.
Yeah. Do you regret it, though?
What do I regret? I mean, I'm not a cause of it. One of the things, for an example, I've raised is so unfair. I've got a homestead that when it's shown in the pictures, it is said this is what Zuma has done with 250 million. 3/4 of what is being shown is my homestead that I'm paying a bond for, which I was accused some years ago that I had taken the French money to build. People have forgotten. Now, it is being put there as if that's where this government money has gone to. It's all, unfortunately, misinformation, a lot of it. Without clarity, as I'm saying, without saying, these are the houses we talk about. It's not the homestead. Part of that homestead that is shown is actually government property, particularly upper there. But nobody explains that. I have said to people, this is so unfair.
It must be very hard for you. You say it's unfair. And your family, I mean, that's your home.
Absolutely.
And it's under public scrutiny all the time and being debated. How is the family holding up around this issue?
What the family would hold up is unfair as it is. They are used to this. They used to be harassed by the special branch, by the police during the struggle. When I was away, it's a continuation of this democratic government, still continues to harass that family. It's unfair. They say, but what else can we do? If we are now a president and this is what we should be subjected to, what can we do? When you are a freedom fighter, you are subjected to this. So they are used to this unfair treatment.
If you had an opportunity to have debated it, let's say you were consulted, would you have told them not to spend the amount of money that the government report has said it's 206 million rand? Whatever they were doing, would you have said to them, it's not the right amount of money to spend in South Africa today?
No, I don't know what is the cost of the security measures to heads of states. I would be doing it from where? Because I don't know. It is done by the state for whatever they consider to be a security measure. I mean, I would be debating it from an uninformed position. From what will I be basing my debate? That's why they don't debate it. I'm sure if they debated it, if they'd discussed the matter, they will indeed solicit such a debate, which will end up, they will tell you, you know nothing about security, we are doing the security. So it would not debate it. What, though, I think the report of government that has come up says that in the process of the supply chain and procurement, many things happen. I would not even known about those because it is the department that deal with those kind of things.
Okay, the issue of corruption, I mean, is remaining in the minds of many South Africans today. Nkandla is one of those issues people talk about, and you've just alluded to the supply chain that maybe things may have gone wrong. Then, of course, you're not part of every nitty-gritty there. However, that means the image of the presidency has been affected, the image of the government and the country in your commitment to deal with corruption. And when you talk about it, people might say, is he credible enough? Can we trust him? Do you think South Africans can trust you?
Absolutely, they can, because I think South Africans know me. Some South Africans pretended to know me, they don't know me. That's why they could believe I could have done something wrong. In any way, the debate about corruption, about anything, is part of democracy. I think we needed to understand that in democracy, people debated things in many ways. Before 1994, there was no debate about corruption in this country. And yet, it was one of the biggest things that characterized that administration. Many of it, you know. Let me just make an example. P.W. Botha, as the president, once he became a president, staying in George, security arrangements had to be made for him, which included the whole airport, which was never there before, the George Airport. There was never a debate. Was there ever a debate about him? Nothing. Because there was no democracy. People, if you commented about it, you could have landed in jail. This is democracy. People, I think these are some of the things we need to accept in democracy, that people have a right to express themselves. What is important? Is there an answer? Is there a clarity on allegations that have been made? Perhaps in terms of communicating this, there wasn't sufficient communication to clarify these issues so that people should not leave under wrong impression created. I think that's what we could say happened. But as to whether people will never scrutinize, in democracy, the people scrutinize everything. In autocratic government, you ask no question. This is a difference that we should see between a democratic government and an autocratic and oppressive government where you ask no question. That is what I think we should say. At any given time in democracy, people must question what they are not clear about. But those who know must clarify the issues. And once they are clarified, if answers are clear, the matter must pass.
You deserve to know more.
eNCA.com.